The Joe Rogan Experience.
So you started out as a performance artist. Like, that was your idea. Like, what did you want to do?
That was your big idea. I went to art school for painting, and I was got really frustrated when people started to critique the paintings, and I was supposed to be, getting more serious in art school and more conceptual, and everyone was doing something different, and everyone was critiquing it in a different way, and none of it made sense to me. And then the idea of having to sell that object that you made. So you're going to make something that's useless. I mean, it makes it sound like I don't like or appreciate art. For me, I couldn't grasp what the next thing to do was. You're poor, you're in art school, you're making something, and then you have to go sell and market that thing.
Right.
And I also was frustrated and kind of like boiling inside and needed to express myself. So I started doing performance art in school. And then
what kind of stuff? Like, when you say performance art, that's a pretty open-ended description, right?
It's so open-ended. There were so many like weird performance art things that would happen. We had performance art class. There was the guy that like taped his genitals to the side and put on lipstick in a mirror, and that was his performance art piece. Or the girl that like... And we would all sit there and watch it.
Oh my God, that's so weird. And did you see his genitals? Did he go naked and pull it aside, or how did he do that?
That's a really good question. I like how your mind just went there. Then. You're like, what actually happened? I think I blocked it out.
Because I think you could probably get away with doing that under the guise of it being something you're doing, in a class somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You could get away with that.
So pervy. I think I was focused on his beautiful lips. I was trying to be polite and not look down there. Another woman was obese, and her piece was she had pre-set up, we weren't where she was doing the performance, butter pats in like dominoes, like a few thousand of them in a line, and she was obese and she crawled on the ground. She didn't actually eat them, but it was something... It's weird. My mind kind of drops off. I remember specific parts of it, but I don't remember. I think she just was collecting the butter pieces and crawling, and that was her performance piece. Another guy, I went to Detroit and then finished in San Francisco, and San Francisco is known for being a real performance art history. A lot of the most famous performance artists, nobody knows where that was. The scene was in San Francisco. So, it was 2-story, really beautiful campus overlooking. You could see Lombard Street on one side. You could see the water on the other side. And another guy's piece was to jump from the 2nd story to a tree, just like that he may or may not have made the jump. And that was his art piece.
His art piece is jumping from a window to a tree?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I know. This other guy, the room where we had our class, he had a bread machine. This was back, bread machines were new technology. Had a bread maker. Those machines you can make I guess it just does the dough, right?
Right.
Or maybe it bakes it. I think it just kneads the dough and then you bake it. Or I don't know if you bake it in the machine or... No, you bake it in the machine. It's all coming back to me. He bakes it in the machine. We come into the classroom as he's baking it. There's always like a reveal in these pieces, right? So we come in, he's taken plaster from the wall and put it in the bread. He's fed us the bread. Half of us get it, half of us don't.
What?
And there's plaster in the bread.
Why do you put plaster in his bread?
It was something about communism. And some get the bread, some don't. But even if you get the bread, there's plaster in it. So in your face.
What the fuck? Oh my God. See, there's something about like performance art and slam poetry.
I did slam poetry too. That was one of my.
You did.
I did. Here's the best part: is I got zeros.
You got zeros?
Yeah.
You didn't get any. Why?
I never really wrote any poetry. I was just into the performance of it, and
So you didn't have a poem?
I think I was doing comedy.
Oh no!
And I was doing like an awkward thing. Well, I mean, which was very real for me. But I think I just wanted to express. I also had an ex-boyfriend who, he said that comedy was his life. This was when I was like 19, and I think I attached to people. I thought he was the shit because he would be rude to people. Like that was his version of comedy. It was like bossing people around, Or one of his bits was like having a whistle and directing traffic. I mean, really adolescent, like, but for some reason I was really attracted to him, and like I wanted to be him. Anybody who was like extroverted or something that I wanted, I was attracted to that, right? So he was like, comedy is my life, and I do this open mic, and I was like, I'm gonna do that open mic. And I had taped like phrases to my body and phrases from commercials or snippets of conversation that I had heard. And I went up and I started reading them. And then I would improvise a little bit and I'd be like, waxy buildup or whatever. And just repeating, just letting it all filter through and come out my mouth for 5 minutes of whatever the open mic was. And I started getting laughter, but it was like awkward laughter after the fact of that uncomfortable, like, what is she doing? But my commitment level was so high that the fact that it didn't make any sense just caused laughter, right?
Right. Well, that works sometimes with just even with comics. You
yes,
know,
absolutely.
Like, there's a lot of people that are just really odd, and if you saw them, you would get it. But if you saw what they wrote on paper or what they said just written down on paper, you would be like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, I thought you were going to say, which is a similar point, that it comes in the pause and after what they're saying, even if it doesn't make any sense. But you're saying sometimes people write things and it makes its own sense when you hear them say it.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also just about being fully
or
committed.
Or the pause. Yes, yes.
Yeah, and those pauses, that gives you, especially with something's really absurd, gives you that opportunity to go, what?
Yeah.
You don't want to just hammer them over the head with it.